Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the one and only Venom guide that you will ever need. I will be going in depth and explaining not only Venom's ability, but his playstyle and kind of the mentality you should have when you're going into games playing this hero, right? So, first and foremost, and I went in depth and I kind of wrote down the numbers. They might not be exact, but they're pretty accurate, in my opinion, from the calculations I did. So the first thing we're going to talk about is his auto attack, right? So when attacking an enemy, when you're hitting all shots to the body, if you hit all tendrils, that's going to do 80 damage. If you headshots, that was bad, but hit all headshots, and that's going to do 140. Obviously, hitting headshots will always be better, but it is kind of hard to, aim at a small target. So in my personal experience, what I've done is I've aimed at the body, and I've kind of drifted my crosshair up as I'm aiming at people, right? So that I can get as much DPS as I can, unless you want to aim up and then drag down. But for me, it feels weird, so I've kind of done the opposite, right? With that out of the way, let's talk about Venom Slam. All right, so 9 times out of 10 people are going to swing in, slam, right? And that slam is going to do about 49 damage, right? I believe, yeah, every tick is 25. So it's going to do about 49 damage. So not a lot of damage, but the dash isn't really used for its damage. It's more so for its initiation tool, right? So when it comes to the dash, so a lot of people will like swing in and they'll slam. That's okay, but what I'm here to tell you is that there's a more efficient way to do it, right? So if you've played any kind of dive character, or if you haven't, right, let's just turn off the infinite abilities real quick, right? So if I swing in, right, and I slam, right, I no longer have cooldowns that will keep me alive other than my shield, right? So now I have to wait for my swing to come back up, right? And I have to swing out. But let's say I dive in and I'm getting blown up. I have no way to swing out if I want to, right? So what I do instead of just swinging and slamming is I like to use my ability to wall climb, right? Because you can hold on to walls. And then from there, whenever I'm ready, I can slam down, right? And then let's say I slam down and I'm like, this is not a position, it's not a fight that I want to be in, right? So we can do it like, a little bit more clean, right? I slam down. I'm like, no, I'm not winning this fight. I can get out, right? So me personally, anytime you have the opportunity to abuse the fact that you can hold on to a wall, which will give you the elevation you need for that slam, I would highly recommend it, just because you have that option to leave immediately if, you need to. So the alternate fire, right, but for me, the key bands are a little bit different, is going to be his snare, or I don't know what the actual name is, but basically it attaches a tendril to the enemy. If the tendril is attached for the full duration, it will do damage, but even if it breaks before then, because it does break by LOS, or by distance, so if I were to grab onto Luna Snow here and go behind a wall, it will break, right? So the main use of this ability is a slow, right? So you're looking to attach to someone, right? What this is going to do is going to slow them down, allowing your teammates the ability to shoot them more, as well as possibly getting some damage, but just slowing people down, right? It's crowd control. But in my personal opinion, the slow's not enough. It does help. So what I normally do is when I use my tendrils, I try to use it when I have ult, so I can knock people up, which will kind of guarantee that damage, right? Whether I pop it immediately, whether I hold on to it for a bit and pop it at a later time, right? Like, for example, if I know that they have all their movement abilities, I'm going to tendril, ult, knock them up, right? And that should, in theory, get that damage off. It may not, but that's the way that I found it most efficiently. So just boom, once that grab, ult, knock up, right? And bam. And that's going to, if not eliminate, get low most characters, right? So that's the way I use that, right? So moving on to the ultimate, which we just used, right? The ultimate does 445 damage, right? So ultimate does a lot of damage. But on top of it doing damage, it also gives you shields, right? So the ultimate's a little bit different compared to his normal shield, right? The ultimate, it shields not only based off of how much health you have, but it also shields off of how many people you hit. So from full health, from me doing testing, by hitting one person, you're going to get 190 shield. For hitting 2 people, you're going to get 285, and by hitting 3 people, you're going to get 400. That can also be augmented depending on how low your health is, which will increase the shielding. That's one thing I don't like about Venom's kit right now. I don't like the inconsistency of how much shield you're getting, because let's say I'm ulting and I'm low, I can get more shield just for hitting one person. Not a big fan of that. I would like it to be a static number, so not only the Venom player knows how much health he's getting, but the person that's fighting the Venom has a better idea of how much health he's getting. So it's less RNG. Like, oh, like, am I going to win this fight? I don't know. Because there's so much math to be done that you'll never truly know how much health he's going to get, because there's no static numbers. It's purely percentage based, and it's a little weird. So yeah. And then with that being said, we're going to go into his overshield. So the way the overshield works is basically you get a shield. Depending on how much health you have left will be how much shield you'll get, right? So for example, I did some tests, right? So when you're at 100% health, when you pop shield, you'll get 100 shield. When you're at 50% health, you'll get 784 shields. When you're at 25% health, you'll get 1,120 shields. As well as if you're at 10% health, you'll get 1,325 shields, right? So the lower you go, the more shields you're going to get. What I've come to learn is I like to pop my my shield anywhere underneath 50% health. I'm not too precise about it, but I make sure that I'm under half health at least, just so I can make sure that I'm getting a good spike. If you can wait till you're around 30 to 25%, you'll be getting the most bang for your buck, because instead of getting 800 shield, you'll be getting 1,000, right? So just try to hold on to it as long as you can. Obviously, it's better to be safe than sorry and pop it earlier than later, because you don't want to get eliminated and now you're out of the fight, right? So for any people that are learning Venom, I would just highly recommend going into casuals and just seeing how much can I get away with, figuring out what characters you're fighting, because some characters do a lot of damage, some don't. So against some characters, you can't take that risk. You got to pop it early. With some characters, you'll know, I got 4 more shots left. Let them hit 2, and then I'll full heal in a sense, right? So it's obviously going to be on a case-to-case basis, but for the most part, you want to hold out as much as you can, get as low as you can, so you can get as much health back as you can, right? So let's talk about Venom's role, right? Venom is a tank, but I like to consider him more so an off tank. Yes, Venom can sit here and be tanky, but the issue with the Venom that I have is he doesn't have a shield, right? He doesn't have a lot of way to mitigate damage outside of his shielding, right? And this is a 14-second cooldown. So if you're expecting me to survive for 14 seconds against someone staring at me, it's like, oh, just walk away, right? But there's tanks that do a better job of that. There's Groot, there's there's Magneto, there's Doctor Strange, right? They're better at holding the front line. So I would consider Venom more so as an aggro off tank, right? So with him being an off tank, I consider him a disruptor. What does that mean? Basically, Venom is a character that is really good at splitting teams, as well as just kind of messing up what they want to do. So if we were to imagine that, let's say that's the tank, right? So that's the enemy tank over there, right? So as the enemy tank, let's say he's about to initiate in 3, 2, 1. As the enemy tank initiates, what I like to do is I like to initiate on the backline, right? So now the enemy tank has to make a decision. The enemy tank has to go, do I continue doing what I'm doing, or do I turn around? And at that point, if the enemy tank turns around, my team sees his back, which means he can't defend himself properly, right? So my goal as a Venom is to always make the enemy's team's initiation, rotations hard, right? Whenever they go through a choke, I'm going on the backline. Even if I don't stand there for long, my goal is to get as many eyes on me as possible and live, right? And that's why I'm a disruptor, right? I'm disrupting their initiation. I'm disrupting their game plan. People think that, Venom's this insane killing machine. In reality, he is, but he isn't. There's been so many times where I've dove on a backline, I've used all my abilities, and the supports are they're just healing themselves, right? And as frustrating as that can be, you're still getting value as a Venom player, because you're forcing them to use resources on themselves and not their team, right? So a lot of the times when you dive in on Venom, there's going to be three people that are going to sit on top of each other and be like, nah, you're not getting value. But no matter what, you're pooling resources, so you're getting value. So don't be stuck up on, I'm not getting frags, I'm not doing my job, right? Your job is to disrupt. Your job is to be in the offlane. Your job is to make as many people care about you and worry about you as possible. And through that, your team should be able to do things easier, right? So yeah. And I did write some notes down, right? So basically, right, your job is to weave in and out of fights, forcing with your sustainable ability to force enemies to deal with you, right? So with how much health I have, with my ability to go in and out at whim, basically, your job is to disrupt the enemy. So with that being said, we are going to talk about some synergies as well. not just the team up abilities with Spider-Man and Penny Parker, but synergies in other ways as well, right? So when I think about characters that work well with Venom, in a dive sense, right? I start to lean a little bit more towards in the tank category, Hulk, Penny, and Magneto. And some people might think, oh, Penny, but Penny does have the ability to go in and out with her mobility, right? As well as she does have an ult that allows her to initiate, right? She's not really a point tank, but she does have the poke to kind of sit back, just chill in the main lane, right? While Venom starts to do things, and then she can charge in if she has ult, yada, 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 right? Hulk has a dive ability, a shield ability, a silence, right? He does have abilities that allow the Hulk to initiate first, right? And then Venom can follow up on other targets that's, either shooting at the Hulk or whatever to try to buy time, or whatever. And then Magneto. And the reason why I say Magneto is because Magneto has shield abilities. And I'm going to be real. I'm not exactly sure how the shield works, whether it's up for a certain time and it's unbreakable, or if it's up for a certain time but you can still break it. But as a Venom player myself, every time that I've dove and I've gotten a shield as I've hit the ground, I'm in love with that like synergy that they have, right? Obviously, the Magneto has to be within range, so it has to be, the Magneto has to be good with his distance management. But that is definitely one of the synergies that I like, and I haven't tested out the Hulk one, but Hulk can give a shield as well. So those are two characters that not only can assist you in diving, but they can shield for you, right? Which is pretty cool, right? And then when we go to the damage category, and I did leave out Thor. I think Thor could work with Venom as well, but I also think Thor kind of serves a similar role as Venom, as like a diving tank that wants to be like, that disrupting kind of tank. So even though they can work together, I would say Thor is more so on his own, but we can throw Thor in there as well, right? When it comes to the damage category, I think Spider-Man, Black Panther, Star-Lord are really good with Venom, and the reason for that is because they have that mobility to keep up with the Venom, right? As well as take like off angles, things like that. And then I would also say Hell, right? The reason I say Hell is because Hell not only has mobility, but she has poke that can enable the Venom to go in, right? And yeah, it's mainly because of that, right? It's the mobility and the poke. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, in other games when I've played Dive, right? If you're gonna have a backline character, you should have a backline character that can keep up. Can the Punisher keep up with his grapple? Yes, but he doesn't really have vertical mobility, so it's really gonna depend on the map. So the Punisher can kind of synergize, but not as easily as these other characters. And then when I think about supports, all supports have their ways that they can enable the Venom. But me personally, I like Loki because Loki, in my opinion, if you know how to use the clones, right? He's hard to dive, but he can also use it for mobility. Rocket has mobility, right? Has a revive totem, right? And can heal from range. And then I would say Luna Snow, and the reason why I would say Luna Snow is because she has that mark. She can mark Venom while healing her other tank. If they're having a tank that's more frontliney, and that can enable the Venom that way. And those are the synergies that I see with Venom. But other than that, right? I just want to make sure y'all keep in mind when it comes to Venom, right? Just understand that you don't have to, even though there's situations for this, right? Going all in, right? Using all your abilities to go in. I would call this an int play, and what int means is intentionally feeding. And when I say that, I don't mean you're actually feeding, but in a sense you are, right? You're going all in, you're using everything, right? You're committing everything to that fight. So mentally, what that says is, I'm committing everything, so I'm staying in this fight until it's done, right? So with that being said, there is a time and place for that, right? But what I really want to emphasize, and I do want to see more Venoms take this kind of like setup approach, right? Just setting up, right? We're letting people walk in, right? Initiating on the back line, and then, okay, I'm in trouble, right? And leaving yourself that ability to get out, right? But with that being said, this is my little Venom guy where I explain his abilities, I explain kind of the mental thing, and I also explain how to not have that one play style of just going in, right? You can frontline, you can use some abilities to go in, keep some to go out, right? And yeah, without further ado, if you enjoy videos like this where I sit down and break down a character's kit, as well as just giving you examples of how the character should and could be played, definitely leave a like down below and comment which character you would like to see next. So hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.